We are now almost 1 month removed from TJ McConnell's injury, and recently the effects of that are being well felt throughout this Indiana Pacers team, with some other guys having to step in. With Brogdon out, we've really felt how much the bench struggles without McConnell, plus Oshae Brissett filling his energy role. How much does that mean? Lots to get to today on the Locked On Pacers podcast.
You are Locked On Pacers, your daily Indiana Pacers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in to another edition of the Locked On Pacers podcast, where we, of course, talk about the Indiana Pacers as always. My name's Tony East. I cover the team for Forbes and the West Side Community News. And today we are talking about a player that I have not talked about in a while because he's been injured, and that is TJ McConnell. TJ McConnell has been out for almost a month. We have no idea what's going on with this team because Brogdon's been out for a few games now, but McConnell's been out for almost a month. And because of Brogdon's injury as well, we've really seen that effect kind of snowball in this team. Other guys have had to step up in the energy department, but the point guard rotation minutes have been poor. I want to talk about how much this team is feeling his injury and if they need him back soon. So joining me on the other line to talk about missing Mr. McConnell, a man who you've probably heard talk about the Pacers just as much as me. Find his work on Basketball News, Fear the Sword, 1:37 p.m. and tag the roll, Mr. Mark Schindler himself from the Indy Cornrows pod. Mark, how's it going, man?
I am tired. It has been a long week. Yesterday was Christmas. I think it was like the first day of relaxed in forever, and I still feel just as tired because now I caught up on everything I missed yesterday. But it's been a good week, man. How's everything on your end?
Yeah, a lot of Christmas making this hard. We're recording this the day after Christmas, before Pacers Bulls, so we won't know how much the impact is felt in that game. But trying to talk about some stuff that is kind of evergreen around this time, and I've really noticed recently, especially as Wanamaker has filled in more, what this Pacers team has been missing with McConnell, which is interesting because with him on the court this year, very reductive stat incoming. With McConnell on the court this year, Pacers have not looked awesome, right? -4 net rating, -60 raw stats, terrible defense, like 113 or 114 defensive rating. And yet, without him, obviously you're missing a backup point guard, but Wanamaker can't do as much. They can't play the way that Rick Carlisle wants to play, guys getting deep in the paint and kicking out as much. Other guys have to step into different roles. So now Keelan Martin's playing more, whatever. They're missing a lot more than you think for a guy whose minutes are negative. And I think we've seen that really hit this team hard recently as Wanamaker, especially, has had to play more minutes.
Yeah, I think one of the ways where it's really interesting is one of the things that's been brought up a lot that I've seen from fans is the idea of playing Torrey Craig and Oshae together, because routinely, we rarely see Oshae and Torrey share minutes other than in the Houston game, and part of that's how many guys were out. So I think when I look at that, you're just missing a ball handler, and even with now Jeremy Lamb has been playing. I don't want to say a lot more recently, but it's hard to not play Jeremy Lamb because Torrey and Oshae just can't dribble at that level or really create at the same level. So I understand fans' gripes with Jeremy Lamb, because he can be if his shots aren't falling, it is tough to grasp straws at how he's necessarily impacting the court. But there just aren't a lot of players who can handle the ball outside of Karis, Malcolm, and Jeremy Lamb right now, and that's why we're seeing so much of Brad Wanamaker and why you're seeing a lot of the team really missing TJ McConnell.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the stats that I wrote about with him when I wrote about his injury right away is drives. And that I don't know how exactly good NBA's drive data is, but just generally going off of what we can see, I think it matches about right. He's at 11 a game. That is the third most on the team. After him, the next closest guy is Duarte at 6, right? So they lose a bit, just to contextualize how much 11 is. That's what I think they've been missing the most with him specifically is the guys you just mentioned can dribble. And Jeremy Lamb dribbles, but he does not get within 8 feet of the rim. Sometimes, I guess.
If he gets to the nail, it's a good day.
Yeah, but he's good from the nail. He'll shoot that and make it. But yeah, he's not setting anyone up or getting in close. And Wanamaker's not getting past the 3-point line. And Jeremy's not going to play in this game we're about to watch. So we'll see what kind of impact that has there. But in terms of actually bending what the other team is doing, LeVert does well at it. He's filled in well at starting point guard now. Recently, But in general, they don't have anyone to get to the basket. And even if their defense suffers with McConnell on the court, like the numbers generally at least suggest that they do, they don't have that guy to kind of get them buzzing. And even if the numbers with him on the court are negative, they still shoot the ball pretty well with him in there. 55% on twos with him in the game is really good, right? Like they're able to get good looks from two. He hits those cutters well. He gets guys coming in off of the wings pretty well. And that's where I think like a lot of bench guys have been suffering too. Like Keelan Martin's efficiency just suddenly deteriorates when McConnell gets hurt. Like that's not, it's magic to me that kind of separate, and they don't even play Keelan anymore, right? So other guys have suffered because they don't have his drives either.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, even before TJ got injured, we saw a real transition to Chris Duarte running more of the bench, and I think especially with TJ gone, and he salvaged a ton of possessions early in the season before he got injured. Just doing, like it obviously wasn't hitting at the same clip this year, but he's still an elite finisher from that like little 8-foot one-legged backstop into like a mini jumper, like he's fantastic at, and that buoys a ton of their half court possessions. I think I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I'd imagine turnovers are higher since he's been out. Just in watching, it feels like it for sure, and part of that is like you're mentioning. I mean, Chris is really popped in some ways I didn't expect as a pick and roll ball handler, but that goes in both directions, in terms of somebody who's trying to learn the ropes with that. So I just think you really miss the stabilizer there. And especially just talking about drives, like even if he's not finishing at the rim, I think like similarly to Malcolm, like somebody who punishes the baseline like he does and just makes the defense even have to reset. Like so often the Pacers will get into the half court and then guys will move on defense, but they're not really shifting in a way that's opening anything up. Like there will be probing drives, but nothing that really collapses the defense. And I mean, TJ drives so hard and does everything with, as Carl likes to say, force in a way that really does cause any kind of movement in the defense. And we just routinely do not see that with the bench unit right now.
No one moves at all. like at all. And Wanamaker really, and this is always how injuries go. Like sometimes you say, oh, the guy, the backup can fill in for the starter at least decently, but the third string guy has to step up, and that's where the problem comes in. And that is super true with this. And Karras has kind of mitigated this because he switched positions to save this problem. But those games where they were playing Wanamaker 22 many minutes, I mean, like I get that he can organize them to some extent, and he had a little stretch where he looked a little better because he was just keeping it simple, which is good at times. But even with him on the court, like their 3-point percentage, basically exactly the same as with McConnell. Their 2-point percentage, 5% worse with Wanamaker running stuff because he can't create anything. It's just whatever happens. Maybe they get a good shot, maybe they don't, right? And he himself is miserable. Wanamaker's at 36% shooting from the floor this season, not from any spot. That's from the whole floor. Like he just can't do anything. So I think that's kind of why you see the absence more. Not necessarily that they don't have the guy who can drive and make other guys break down, or is this pest on defense and gets those inbound steals. Although that didn't happen as much this year, or can weave around picks, whatever. Like McConnell could. He can't do anything, right? So the gap is so big that you're kind of really noticing it in that. Okay, all these other guys are really struggling now. Or like, okay, their half court defense is having to work a little bit, like 2 seconds harder because he's not pressuring the ball handle. Like all this little stuff just adds up and up and up. And then they have to sub more, or there's more fouls. Like LeVert had foul trouble in their last game because he was playing more point guard. It all kind of connects, and it's just if you had the little rat out there, it would all look a lot better.
Yeah, it's really tough too because I think something that doesn't get talked about enough, just from a fan perspective, like TJ's decision making is so important for what the bench does, and it's not like the drives are important, but it's what he does from there. Just the one that sticks out the most is the game against the Bucks going into halftime when Brad Wanamaker has George Hill on him and gets Drew Holiday switched onto him and then isolates and finishes out the shot clock. Like that stuff happens pretty routinely, not like to that level. And that's just like a microcostal view of it. But it's painful. And even when that does happen, like part of it too is I'm sure they didn't expect him to look like this athletically because he had a little bit more. Like I was very confused by the signing when it did happen. I understood wanting to get a guard, but like he was not great last year. And I think I don't know if we're going to talk about the defense, but even like that's I think you see it as much on defense too, how much he just doesn't really have any juice going downhill, or really in any direction. But yeah, it is it's very tough.
Hey guys, one quick little break to talk about the good folks over at TrueBill, because do you know why free trials renew without your consent? Because it is a business scam out to get you. Don't let greedy corporations pocket your money. Download TrueBill to take control of your subscriptions. TrueBill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, want, or simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 per year with TrueBill because companies make it hard to cancel subscriptions. TrueBill makes it super simple. Link your accounts. TrueBill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap, and you have a TrueBill concierge available to you when you need them to cancel those unwanted subscriptions, so you don't have to. They have over 2 million users and have helped them save over $100 million. Don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at TrueBill.com/LockedOnNBA. Go right now, TrueBill.com/LockedOnNBA. Could save you thousands a year. TrueBill.com/LockedOnNBA. Definitely tough. Defensive, we haven't even talked about. Like, their bench defense right now is so bad. Like,
Yeah.
Lamb can't guard a potted plant. We've known that for forever, but sometimes it doesn't matter because McConnell can guard the best bench guard, and then Lamb's guarding a lemon or someone who's not that good, and then that's a little better, and Torrey Craig's a good defender, and Justin Holiday's a good defender, and Keelan Martin is a nosy on-ball guy, and like, okay, yeah, like, we have a bench lineup that kind of can stop other people. When McConnell's not there, now it's like, okay, Keelan Martin can stop some guys, and Jeremy Lamb can't stop anybody, and Brad Wanamaker can't run sideways for a long time, and all of a sudden any ball handler can get in the paint. And when those guys are all together, it's really bad. Like that's, I think, why Jeremy Lamb's people notice his defense so much, is because he gets stuck in these lineups where he's asked to do a lot. But anyway, when they're mixed in with starters, that's why I think we've seen this month a lot of teams that can get to the rim really easily in a way that wasn't the case before. Like, they could go Brogdon, McConnell for a few minutes, and yeah, that had some offensive hurdles that have been well documented this season, but that was pretty strong defensively. Didn't put as much pressure on Miles in the back, or let Domas play solo center a little more comfortably. Like, that kind of stuff is really important as well. And those defensive ripples have been noticeable as well, despite the fact that McConnell's defensive rating on its own has not been very good.
Yeah, I mean, the defense has just been rough to watch, especially. I know there have been like spurts where it looks better, but I mean, even watching the Houston game again today, they've been doing a lot more with sending nail pressure from the weak side to try and mitigate some of the issues at the point of attack. And even then, I mean, it hasn't been effective because guys are not great at doing it. Like, Karras is often asked to do it, and as you know, Karras is probably the worst defender on the team, given his minutes load. Like, it's not great unless it's going to steal. It's close.
I think it's Lamb. I think it's Lamb.
Oh yeah, it's probably Lamb. But in terms of, like, top 7 rotation, I think it's Karras.
Yeah,
I mean, Justin has not been the same guy this year defensively,
not at all.
Which has been really rough. Like, even just watching the Houston game again today, like, I was like, oh wow, this Justin of last year makes that rotation. But I mean, exactly. Like, I think it's so frustrating because you watch this team, and there are so many guys who you watch like, okay, that guy can play defense. Like, I think he's an okay defender, at least average. But the problem is they just have nobody who can stop dribble penetration. Like, maybe they thought Torrey Craig was going to be that guy. That hasn't really just been the case this year. Like, he's better defending up a little bit, which honestly, it's not what it used to be. Like, he used to be much better defending smaller players. Hasn't been the case this year. I do wonder if they would think about switching more, but that doesn't seem to be part of their ethos right now. At least on
they were for a while too. I'm surprised they went away from that when they lost a small guard.
Especially considering, well, like, even like looking back at the Houston game, obviously they won it, but like, they had so many issues just on ball screens early on.
Yeah.
Like, one of the better ways, like, if you have a lot of long guys, like, let's say, okay, if you don't play Brad Wanamaker, you have Lamb, Chris Duarte, Oshae, Miles, and Torrey Craig out there. Okay, well, you don't necessarily have a ton of lateral quickness, but you have a lot of guys with length. So maybe if you just switch, you can try and work on keeping things in front. But the issue too is, like, the communication just has not been there, like we saw in years prior. It's just like, it feels like every time they start trying to solve something else comes up, and they're just never really able to fully get something going, which is very frustrating to watch.
Yeah, they got that 1-3 win streak, but other than that, it's just like, oh, this is cool. Oh, we lost it. Oh, this is nice. Oh, we forgot how to do it. Oh, we forgot how to drive again. And yeah, it's like, I think some of that is they have some units, and it's a different unit every game that just like forget how to play together sometimes, where they're giving up these crazy 10-0 runs at the most random moments. And they used to, under McMillan and Bjorkgren. Shout out to PBB stats, which I am referencing very often on this podcast. But like, you could take out, they track like, okay, if the Pacers have 4 starters on the court, what's their net rating compared to other teams with 4 starters on the court, right? And the Pacers used to be like meh with all 5 starters, and then pretty good with 4, 3, 2, and 1, whatever. This year, basically outside of 2 starters, and even that's not that good, they're below average if you take any 1 starter or any 2 starters off the floor. And like, they used to have this super good synergy with like McConnell and McDermott, or McConnell and Holiday, and even that's just been okay. Or McConnell Sabonis with a bunch of these other guys, and they don't have that at all this year. And that's kind of a result of, Justin Holiday moving to the starting lineup and stuff like that. I think that's kind of hurt McConnell's effectiveness, but it's also hurt, Brad Wanamaker's effectiveness, or Karis LeVert playing with the bench effectiveness. It's like, wait, Karis LeVert's supposed to be playing in the second unit, and this is kind of a result of Warren being out, and they've had Karis miss time himself, and one of the bigs has missed games now. Like that. Oh, my second unit guys are who? Keelan Martin and Torrey Craig and Jeremy Lamb. Like, we're not going to stop anybody. We're not going to score at all. Like, even McConnell plus Sabonis is about an even this year. Like, that's been pretty good, right? They can't turn to that bench as much, or they have to use McConnell in different ways when he's in there. Like, if they just had their full team, he'd obviously be more effective. But in turn, when he's out, you're getting worse versions of something that's already worse than it was last year. So the ripple effect is like Rick Carlisle just going, I don't know who to play.
Well, yeah, and it's tough because a lot of it too is they're just being played differently this year too. Like, even when McConnell and Sabonis were together, it wasn't as effective, and it wasn't on them, in my opinion. Like, I feel like a lot of it, and like we've talked about it too, like just the way that Domas has been utilized, where they want to position him more, has not, at least for what we want to see offensively, or what we got accustomed to seeing offensively last year and in years prior. Like, it hasn't been the same. Like, he's still being used as a post hub, not the same amount, not in the same places that really get, guys going downhill the way that I think we were used to. So I think that's definitely played a part. And it's tough too, because like, even just thinking about Doug, like, I think it got undersold how important Doug was to the team in some ways.
Very undersold.
Like, Chris Duarte and Justin Holiday are the only movement shooters on the team, and they're barely movement shooters.
Chris Duarte is not a movement shooter.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he will, defenses will at least treat him like a movement shooter, but he's not going to hit the shots coming off movement.
Right.
Like, he really struggles with that. He's much better doing something off of like a 1 or 2 dribble pull up. But like, Justin can come off of a pin down and hit a shot while he's going in motion. But even then, like, he's not the same kind of threat getting downhill. Like, Doug really put that together last year, and I mean, that was killer. So like, I think that's what makes it tougher too. Like, I think if they still had Doug, and not to like rewrite history, but like, I think you wouldn't see some of the same issues, because teams are just so comfortable with like, okay, yeah, you're going to try and do all this stuff from the high post or out on the perimeter trying to go 5 out, but you're not really 5 out. We don't have to guard you like you're 5 out. So it's not really causing the same kind of shifts or anything. And it's, again, frustrating to watch, but
I kind of piled on the team too much for this, I think, because they don't have a lot of other options. But like, it was really funny for part of the season. This is not on McConnell or anybody, and no one being out is the cause of this. But it's just like, all right, they give it to Sabonis in the high post, and there's all these cool cuts, and then double drag, and they flip it over, and then they kick it over to the wide open shooter in the corner, and it's Torrey Craig. Like, you just ran this awesome set that worked great. You even made the defense bend, and it doesn't matter because your shooter is Torrey Craig, and that's going to hurt McConnell when he is playing or when he isn't playing. It's like, how can you be effective when you have to work really hard to set up an open 3 for Torrey Craig? Yeah, McDermott's a big factor. I should do a show on that in the future, because I did say for the offseason, I thought he would get more money and be better than McConnell, but McConnell's more important because they needed a point guard, but they didn't get any other shooters with their limited resources outside of Torrey Craig. So that kind of shot themselves in the foot in the shooting department. They're 27th in 3-point percentage as we chat right now. Yikes. You know, the only player is that McConnell has a significantly high plus minus with? This stunned me.
Oh, okay. Then it's not Malcolm. I was going to guess Malcolm, but it must not be Malcolm then, because that would be too easy.
Stunningly high, not just kind of high.
That's a great question. Ooh, is it?
It's actually minus with Malcolm. It's not even positive at all.
Wow. Okay. Is it Miles?
It is not. It's neither big.
It's neither big?
It is Karis LeVert.
Oh, well, okay. That makes no sense to me.
That shocked me. That shocked me as well. They can't use Wanamaker plus Levert. I mean, I think they should a little bit and just have Wanamaker stand in the corner a little bit.
Yeah,
Like
use him
maybe
more as a
that could be.
shooter.
I think they're going to have that against the Bulls coming up tonight. And hopefully, since this is coming out the day after that game, people can look back and go, wow, look at these two genius guys in Locked On Pacers.
I mean, I would so much rather see Brad Wanamaker not dribble against the Bulls backcourt. But yeah, I'm trying to imagine him dealing with Alex Caruso. Is Alex playing tonight? I think Alex
Caruso is out.
Oh, he's out. Well, Lonzo's out too. Jeez, never mind. Okay, maybe he does have a chance tonight. Who knows?
This would be a game. See, this would be a game where McConnell is awesome because the other team's point of attack defense is crap. Even with no shooters, you can break that down and make help happen when they don't have guys clogging the paint. And the other last thing, beyond any stat we can measure, and I know that there's not a stat for this, but at the same time, it's kind of measured in plus minus. Like that's the point. Like your team did good because of this. Like energy, people are always like, there's no stat for that. But it's like if it actually mattered and helped your team, they'd have a good net rating or plus minus, right? Like that's how this works. If it's not impacting winning, then it doesn't matter. It's not a real thing. McConnell's energy has certainly helped the team in ways in the past before they lost that. They were a soul-sucking team early this month, especially in the Atlanta game they lost without him. And someone had to step up and fill that void. Voila, welcome, Mr. Oshae Brissett. Hey guys, let's take a short little break to talk about two awesome groups of people. First up, the good folks over at BetOnline.ag who have you covered this holiday season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. As football continues its march through the College Bowl season and the pro football playoffs, Colts and Purdue playing important games right now in football, and BetOnline remains your number one spot for all that sports action this season. Head over to their website, use your mobile device to sign up today. You can receive a 50% welcome bonus on top of your first deposit. All you got to do is use our promo code LOCKEDON to receive your bonus from basketball, football, NHL, boxing, and UFC right to your favorite Vegas casino games. Don't wait to take advantage of all the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fast and easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports, so don't wait to take advantage of all the new amazing offers available. BetOnline, where the game starts. Let's also talk about Built Bar, who's making the best tasting protein bars ever, 100% covered in chocolate, soft, easy to chew, delicious protein bars. And it's New Year time. Time for New Year's resolutions. If your plan is about getting fit or eating healthier, include Built Bar in your plan. They are protein bars that taste like candy bars, but way healthier, right? Most Built Bars have 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 grams of net carbs, and 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar with twice as many calories and 6 times as much sugar and dozens of carbs. Built Bar is the way to go, 100% covered in real chocolate. Tons of listeners have told me they like them. You've got to try them, especially if you're a fan of working out. I've used them as a meal substitute or a snack substitute. You can do whatever you want. Try them. Go to Built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15, and you'll get 15% off your order. That promo code, again, is LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. Let's talk about Oshae, because he has really stepped up in the energy department. We've known that for forever. That guy's always waving his arms around and pumping up the crowd and diving all over the floor. And he's a good teammate McGee, and he hops and skips every time he scores. I love it. But the big thing with Oshae, first of all, beyond energy, is like finally they played him. Why did they sit this guy out for so long? Because they desperately needed his energy and they didn't get it at all. And I still am stunned that it took Rick Carlisle so long to be like, wow, he's actually good.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of funny because just kind of harkening back a little bit to what we're talking about with TJ, what's been so hard to understand with this team has been that they just, I hate throwing out identity all the time, but the roles change so fluidly on this team. And I think that's been really frustrating. It seems like it's been frustrating for guys because even just looking through O'Shea's box scores, he DNP'd the first game, 8 minutes the second game. And then he played 20 plus minutes the next 3, and then was DNPing a week later. And now he's played double-digit minutes for the entire month of December. And it's shocking. When you actually give a guy a chance to hit shots, he will hit shots. And I think, I don't know, that's part of what's been really difficult and frustrating with the team, because it almost feels like they know that they have too many guys, or they feel like they have too many guys, and they are trying to figure out how to get all of them to work. But in the process of doing it, you're making it harder for them to work because they're not getting a consistent role. And Oshae, like you mentioned, he's just been awesome. I think I was tweeting this immediately in the first and second game, and Tom got on me for it. But I was like, how is Oshae Brissett not in the rotation after what we saw last year? He was really, really damn good at Summer League too. Like I wasn't sure what to make of it. I didn't understand it. I got to a degree like, okay, Torrey Craig is here. He's your new free agency signing. You think he's the guy who's going to solve some of your defensive issues, but find a way to play Oshae Brissett too. Having guys who are 6'7" that can do multiple things on court while being a positive, it's a good thing.
Would you like an Oshae minute stat?
I would love an Oshae minute stat.
What's the Pacers record when he plays more than 25 minutes?
It's got to be above 500.
It is 4-0. They're undefeated when he plays more than 25 minutes. When he plays more than 20 minutes, they're exactly 500, which is not as good. Somewhere in that 5-minute range, things
it's
go
still
wrong.
Good. It's still better.
Still good. Still better than 14 and 19 where they are right now. Whatever they are after the Bulls game, I don't know. But regardless, they won't be 500 after that game. Like clearly, playing him is good, and I was stunned it took so long. And the energy thing has certainly helped in the absence of McConnell a little bit. Like the bench is still like giving it their all, and not this lethargic group that they had. Like they had some games when Oshae wasn't playing yet. I remember the Brooklyn game when like Torrey Craig gave them everything, where their second unit was garbage. Besides Torrey Craig just randomly scoring like 26 or 28.
He had a career high, didn't he?
Yeah, it was an unreal game.
So wild,
right? They had some just stinky bench games in that stretch, and then even after McConnell got hurt, he played not as much. Like right after that too. He's really stepped up this month. He's been a big part of their resurgence recently. Like they still quietly won like 6 of their last 9 or 10, and he's been a part of that. He's a positive plus minus almost all those games. He's their first sub a lot of the time now. Like he brings out one of the centers and plays with the starters. It's amazing that he's somewhat covered for the stuff McConnell's not giving you, and that he wasn't playing. Given that he is better than Torrey Craig to me, he was before the season started. But now he's hitting his threes again. His defense is really versatile. Like when he is in, they switch a little bit more than when he's not in because he's got the size to do so and he's quick. Like it's just really remarkable that he wasn't playing. And it's good that he's playing not only because he's good, but also because, as became a running joke on this podcast, like for a team that might be rebuilding, he's 23. He's the youngest. He's like the third youngest guy on the team. Like he should be playing every game regardless. If you're going to focus on the future of these young guys, just stick him in the game. He helps mitigate the McConnell loss for the next months. That's a long time. He's actually good. He's your first sub off the bench for a reason. It's remarkable that as recently as like less than a month ago, when you're listening to this on the 28th of December, he got a DNP on November 29th. So within a month, he was not playing. It's remarkable how his season's turned around and how important he's become to a team that decided, you know what, we're just not going to play sometimes.
Well, it's just so funny too, because I mean, so much of like Rick didn't come out and say like, this is the system we want to run, but like, I mean, it's so clear they wanted guys who could do everything, like they be egalitarian, play in an egalitarian way. And like Oshae was the only guy who I think you could come out and say can do all that stuff, like can play defense in multiple ways, can drive a little bit, can pass. Like he's not a great passer, obviously. I mean, like his box score is kind of belittling of how he is as a passer. Like he's good at okay, like even just like again going back to the Houston game, great at getting paint touches off of closeouts and kicking to the corner. Like there are so many, like how often have we seen Keelan Martin actually consistently do that? I don't mean that to like be rude to Keelan, but like it's just simple intermediate plays that I think the team has really missed out on for most of the year. And having him actually being able to do that, like that's huge because Torrey Craig is actually a solid passer, but he doesn't draw closeouts like that. Like he's okay. Right. He's not a great decision maker. But
he reads the game quickly. Like he's good at the pop 0.5 roll stuff. I guess that's a good
passer. Like he's good at that, but like he doesn't. I mean, he's not good enough to really show that because he doesn't have the handle. People don't close out on him like he's a shooter, and I still don't think O'Shea's quite there. But I mean, shooting 43% since he's been playing double-digit minutes this month. Teams are starting to treat him like he's a shooter, and he can attack that. And like you just miss that. Yeah. He's like one of the few role players who can actually build off of what what some of the starters are actually doing, and that's been huge.
It was funny in Summer League when all the coverage was like, hey, look, O'Shea's dribbling. Like, that didn't happen last year. Yeah. And then this season, he didn't dribble at all. And then in December, we're like, oh, yeah, remember that thing?
He can do that still. Holy crap.
He can still do that. How cool is that? And the last thing that he's done really well, the offensive rebounds. He didn't do that at all last year either. Like, he's come in and saved some possessions, like out of complete nowhere. It's been stunning to see that. I forget which game it was last week. I can't remember. I wish I knew. It was either the Knicks or the Wizards where he like saved the game where it was getting close a few times. He's like, no, I'm going to get a huge offensive rebound and keep us in it. And that kind of reflects the energy again of replacing McConnell, but also just no one on the team. Like they've been an awful rebounding team from their perimeter guys for a while. Like outside of their bigs, no one is going for that. like hardly ever. Torrey Craig's a pretty good rebounder, I suppose, but they don't really get that a lot from guys, so that's been really huge for them as well. He's got an offensive rebound in every game except for the one McConnell got hurt in for this whole month. Like that's just a free extra possession. His plus minus in this month is very good. Like I've been leaning on crappy stats a lot today, but he has been good this month, and it's been a huge turnaround for the Pacers.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think the last thing I think I can even add to that is just defensive rotations. I think he's been fantastic already. Like he's been a little bit better playing on smaller guys. They've tried that more with him. Even like again going back to the Houston game. Like I don't mean to keep referencing the same game, but he's been a little bit better guarding guards, smaller wings this year. He's still not great at it. He's better doing stuff, as a rotations guy, as a low man. But yeah, I mean overall, I think it's just a little bit depressing that it took 2 months to be like, oh yeah, Oshae's a rotation guy. Like we didn't see that last year, but yeah, I agree. Like his energy's just been awesome. He's been one of the few bright spots for me in watching the games. I don't mean to sound like dreary, but it has been very rough basketball, even with them winning some recent games. Just with everything that's come out, it's made it a lot less exciting to try and view stuff. So seeing him attack the way that he has and his post-game drip as always too. It's great.
Yeah, the glasses were great. He brought a ball to one post-game session. Just a cool dude. I'm rooting for him. And if you want to root for Mark Schindler, you can follow him on Twitter at @MSchindlerNBA. Mark, where can people follow all your stuff? I'll let you do that instead of me doing it for you.
Well, I appreciate it, Tony. Yes, you can follow me on Twitter. I'm very active there, probably more active than I need to be at times, but I write over at Basketball News doing national coverage. I have a podcast called Tag the Roll, which is strictly on the NBA draft and draft prospects. Find me over at Indy Cornrows. I host the pod there. Have not written there in a while because it has been a very busy season. And then also at 137, I do some freelance stuff as well. But yeah, I appreciate you having me on, man. It's always a blast.
If you have internet access, just search Mark Schindler. That's probably the easiest way.
There's a retired U.S. Army general named Mark Schindler who appears right after me. So to be fair.
You know, this show's at Locked on Pacers, and I am at T East NBA. We'll be back tomorrow to talk Hornets and some other general topics. Mark, thank you for the time, sir. I appreciate it. I just army saluted you after we talked about the general. Yeah. That was unintentional. Hope everybody had a great day, and we will see you tomorrow.